everyone, Fixxxer here. A long time no see. I just got done visiting with family for a few weeks. I'm back now. I wanted to get a video up to let you guys know what's going on. And there's a couple things I want to talk about. I'm going to talk about some things on my trip, things that I did. But before that, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Edmund Fitzgerald, which somebody had built in Minecraft, and I am currently standing in it. So this was built by someone named Chrissy 2006. I got it from Planet Minecraft. I'll put a link down below in case you guys want to play with it yourself. So I'm going to explore the ship and talk about it for, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes before I jump into the details of my visit. So you probably have heard of the Edmund Fitzgerald, maybe in passing. You might even know what it is because it's gotten back into a little bit more mainstream because someone famous associated with it has died in 2003, I think it was. So it's been kind of back in the zeitgeist a little bit. So this was a lake freighter that that's right on the outside, that operated on the Great Lakes. And I'm talking about it because it never, outside of the area, outside of the region, it never really got talked about too much. But this was like an iron ore freighter that would take iron ore from like the far end of Superior, like Duluth and other places in Wisconsin, and they would deliver the ore down to like Detroit and Toledo and a few other places, but mostly Detroit and Toledo. So way back in 1975, and this happened on November 10th, so that's why I'm talking about it, because we just passed the 50th anniversary of it. So that's why it was in the Twitter trending. It's been trending in a few places. I saw some videos pop up on my YouTube explaining it. And there's lots of those that go into like a deep dive on what happened to this freighter. And I won't be doing that. I'm just kind of giving you guys a little gist of it because it's interesting to me. So this was an iron ore freighter that in 1975 on November 10th, it sank in Lake Superior, killing all those aboard. There were 29 sailors aboard this ship when it sank. And some of you may be thinking, because I've heard this argument before, what's the big deal? It was only 29 people. I don't think people try to minimize it, but they kind of think, why is it such a big deal, especially in the Great Lakes region? So one of the reasons why the Fitzgerald was a big deal it was the largest freighter on the Great Lakes. Some people called it like the Titanic of the lakes and whatnot, and I guess that's okay because it was the largest ship. I don't know if it was ever touted to be unsinkable or anything like that, but obviously it sank. So that was one of the reasons why it was a big deal. The other was that it would blast music when going through channels and locks. So if you don't know what a lock is, there's a major lock system up in Superior where it meets Lake Huron, and because the two lakes are not at the same level, so a lock is kind of like a chamber that a boat will go in. It'll raise or lower the water accordingly so the boat can go out the other end. And there's a massive system of this up in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. And when it went through those, or it went through like the Detroit River, which is a strait, or the St. Clair River, which is also a strait you got to go through in order to get to Toledo or Detroit, it would blast music over its speakers, and people would go out there and ship watch, right? You go out to the Detroit River or you go to the Sioux Locks, and you would watch the ships going out, and they would blast the music for everybody. So it was an endearing ship. People liked the ship. But also, and this is perhaps even bigger, in 76 or 77 or something like that, a year or so after this happened, Gordon Lightfoot wrote a song about it. Now, Gordon Lightfoot, if you don't know, he was a Canadian folk singer, and he was a legend known for beautiful, well-articulated lyrics, among other things. He wasn't just a lyricist, he was a fantastic musician, and he's a legend, especially in Canada and the Great Lakes region, like Michigan. When I went to school in Michigan, we learned about the Edmund Fitzgerald in elementary school. It was a core part of what we learned. And the reason for that is why Gordon Lightfoot wrote the song. So this was hitting, this hit the newspapers. Of course, this was a big deal. It hit articles in magazine publications like Newsweek, back when people actually cared about Newsweek and things like that. And I think it was Newsweek that triggered Gordon Lightfoot. So they would be reporting on this, and they would often misspell Edmund Fitzgerald, and they would misspell some of the sailors' names that were on the ship. And Gordon Lightfoot, I'm pretty sure this was like the nexus. He saw it in Newsweek, and they misspelled the Edmund Fitzgerald, and they disrespected what the Edmund Fitzgerald was, which was a symbol for blue-collar workers. It was a symbol for the middle class. And he was so pissed that they wouldn't care enough to even spell the name of the ship right. And he's like, I want to write about that. And he wrote this song, The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. I will put a link below so you guys can go listen to it. And it's a beautiful song, and the lyrics are beautiful, and it's very interesting composed song because it's got this rhythm to it that doesn't exactly change a whole lot, but you can feel the change in the lyrics, and it's just a lot of feeling in it, and it captures the whole event beautifully. So anyways, this is important to a place like Michigan or Ontario, where they have a long history of labor, of blue-collar workers, of creating the middle class. You know, the middle class pretty much started out of Detroit with labor unions. Detroit's not the first to do labor unions, but, you know, labor unions got big in the early 20th century. And so the Edmund Fitzgerald was a symbol of labor. It was a symbol of blue-collar workers and a symbol of the middle class. And it is celebrated as such, that these men lost their lives, you know, transporting freaking iron ore. And as far as why the ship, I should be moving around. This is boring, probably looking at the same thing, right? I don't know if I want to go up that way, actually. And it was just really important to the people in that region. So it is taught early in schools. I learned about it very early on. We had to do reports on it, like, you know, draw on posters, things about the Edmund Fitzgerald and all that stuff. As for why it sunk, we don't, I think they know pretty decently why, but for a long time there were arguments on what happened to make it sink. Now I'll get into that a little bit later. Isn't that pretty? Jitters are pretty. So this is the Edmund Fitzgerald in all its Minecraft glory. Again, this was made by Chrissy 2006. I'll put a link down below. You guys can download it yourself. But it was a giant iron ore freighter. These are the hatches here. It would store the ore in there. I'm going to go down here, check out the end. So a couple of interesting things about the song. Over time, it became a little bit of an anthem again for Canada and Michigan and the working class and whatnot. This is such a cool build. Look how big it is. You barely see the other end. This is beautiful. I love it. And it'll tell you a couple stories that will explain you exactly what kind of person Gordon Lightfoot was. In the song, he wrote about, and again, he wrote the song before a lot of the info. We didn't even find the ship yet. I'm pretty sure he wrote the song before we even found the ship in Lake Superior. And the most common hypothesis was that the hatches broke open or were left open. These things right here, that these were open or left open, and during a major storm, and it was a major storm, something like 30-foot waves, something like that, water got in these and helped them sink. So he had that lyric in his song that the hatchways gave in or caved in or something like that. And the mother of the son, again, there were 29 sailors on this ship. One kid, 21 years old, was in charge of the hatches. And she contacted Gordon Lightfoot, and I don't remember when this was, 80s or something like that. I don't remember. And she said, I love your song and how it honors my son and the people on the ship. However, it feels like people blame the hatches being left open, and it sounds like my son is responsible for the sinking of this ship. Now, obviously, this was not his intent, and you can draw the conclusion whether it sounded like that or not. But either way, he said, "You know what? You're right," and he changed the lyrics. I don't remember what they changed him to. He said it went from the main hatchway caved in, and then something about the weather. I think he just switched it up so it doesn't say exactly about the hatchways. Anyways, so that was one thing. The other thing was they talked about the Mariners Church in Detroit. So the Mariners Church would, on November 10th every year, they would ring their bell 29 times, one for each of the sailors on the Edmund Fitzgerald. And they've done this ever since. And so he talks about it in the song as well, about the Mariners Church and the bell ringing 29 times. It's in the song. I don't remember the exact lyrics off the top of my head. And he called it a musty old hall. And the pastor who is in charge of the Mariners Church in Detroit contacted Gordon Lightfoot. He said, "I love your song. It honors the men that were on the ship, etc., etc. But I'm sorry to say, our church is beautiful. It is not musty at all." And Gordon Lightfoot said, "You know what? Musty probably wasn't the best word." And so he changed it to rustic. He called it a rustic old hall. Of course, you're not going to change like the original recording. So when you listen to original recordings, it's going to have the original lyrics. But when he performed it live, he changed the lyrics to honor those involved with the ship. Also, just a note, you're going to see stuff, if you load this up, you're going to see stuff all over the ground because this boat was made in an older version of Minecraft, and I'm loading it now in a new version. And I think some items were like made with like a debug stick or something, and so they fall off, like this right here. That is done with a debug stick, and some of that stuff is not compatible with the new version. So you'll see stuff like that's popped off a bit here and there. Can I go inside here? This is a room. This is navigation. Pretty cool. A little window and everything. But anyways, where was I? Oh, there goes something. Yeah, see that thing above it? It blocks up updates so it falls off. It'll fall off if I do this as well. Boom. So yeah, you're going to see that a little bit. Just warning you. Let's get the weather clear. It looks so good with the shaders, right? Now it's just deathly quiet. Oh yeah, the Mariners Church. So that's the kind of person Gordon Lightfoot was. And he was respected for decades after the fact. So much so that when he died in 2023, the Mariners Church changed from ringing the bell 29 times to ringing it 30 times. One for each of the sailors and one for Gordon Lightfoot for the respect and attention he brought to the tragedy. So this was a pretty big symbol, and I grew up with this story, and I don't think it's a very big story nationally because, again, only quote-unquote 29 men died, but it is a symbol for the middle class and for labor, for the blue-collar people. And the 50th anniversary was just a few days ago. I saw it trending on Twitter, and I got a video up on YouTube. And I'm like, I'd like to talk about that a little bit when I do my video about my recent trip. Okay, I think that's it about that. All right, so I'm going to start talking about some things I did while on my trip. Firstly, for Stardew Valley fans, and there's probably a few here since I've done a couple series in Stardew Valley, they had that Symphony of Seasons tour that's been going on in the US. I think they're in Europe right now. Or is it both? They may be in both, because they have multiple conductors going around doing this. I went to 2 of these concerts. I went to one in Houston and one in Detroit. And I'm going to put some pics up of Detroit. I'm going to start there with the Fox Theater. So this is an old theater in downtown Detroit. Gorgeous theater. And it played there. I went to see that one. And then there was another one in a suburb of Houston in Sugar Land. I went there as well. I'll put some pictures up. Really gorgeous. Of course, you know, the Stardew Valley soundtrack is it sounds like an 8-bit soundtrack, right? And this was converted to like a symphony, a full, well, not a full symphony. I don't remember how many people are in a mini symphony. Is it 25 or something like that? 21? I don't know. But it was more like that. Either way, it was beautiful. It was gorgeous. I wish I could play some of that stuff for you, but obviously I don't think I can. Maybe I'll find a link and put it down below so you guys can hear it. Either way, it was very good. It was 2 hours long with a brief intermission in between. I highly recommend you guys going if you're interested in it. And I hope game soundtrack tours becomes a new thing, because I would love to hear so many soundtracks live like that. And Stardew Valley is a perfect one, really. Such a fantastic soundtrack. But wouldn't it be amazing to hear Minecraft? I know they've done a Minecraft one before, and I heard mixed reviews on it. But a well-organized touring symphony for that would be amazing. I would totally go to that. There's plenty of other games I would go to. I heard that there's one for Death Stranding 2, I guess. I would go to that too. I love it. I love the idea. We would like more of that, please. Okay, I got something real interesting to show you. I took my girlfriend to this place in downtown Detroit in Parker's Alley, which is just an alley in Detroit that's finished and has like businesses along it. Something that's more known for places like Tokyo and other Japanese cities. Don't see it too much in U.S. cities, but they're here and there. Every city's got one or two. The finished alley, and there's a company called Rebel Nell. It's a jewelry company, but it's a little bit more than that. And I'm going to put pictures up of what they do and whatnot. So Rebel Nell works with women who are, I think if I remember correctly, the way they put it, women that are in transition. And what that means is they work with women who were homeless, and they train them, they set them up with a job, they train them on putting together this jewelry and whatnot and selling the jewelry in their store. And they help them get on their feet. And I thought that was pretty fantastic. And what they do with their jewelry is also interesting. They take graffiti from very specific places in Detroit. Graffiti that has fallen off. So the paint has fallen off the cement or whatever it was on, right? And when you're looking at graffiti, you're looking at one side of it, right? You got this finished side and it's got words, or it's got a caricature, or it's got some beautiful art, whatever it is, and it's got clean lines or whatever. But on the other side of the paint, different things happen. Colors mix, and they do strange things before they fully harden. And so they take these pieces of graffiti that have fallen off. They don't chip it off. They only take graffiti that has fallen off, and they partner with companies that resurface, or they partner with people who are doing new graffiti and take the old graffiti off, and those people collect this graffiti for Rebel Nell. And then they let you take these chunks of graffiti and take a stencil of what they're designing, whether it's a round amulet, a rectangle amulet that you would put around your neck, a bracelet with a little round piece on it, and you can cut off a piece of that graffiti and turn it into the jewelry. And they have all different kinds, right? All different colors. They blend in different ways. Oh, they have tons. You could find just about anything that you would like. And you cut out your circle or your square or whatever, and then they put that inside the jewelry. And they have all sorts, like I said, they have necklaces, they have bracelets, they have keychains, they have all sorts of interesting things. And so I took my girlfriend to that and let her pick out, you know, what piece she wants and what design from the graffiti she wants. And again, they pull graffiti from a few different places. One of them is the famous Detroit Zoo water tower. So the Detroit Zoo had a water tower, and there was a mural around the tower that everybody in the Detroit area would know. They'd come to love because they went there when they were kids, right? You go to the zoo. Most kids love the zoo. You see the water tower, you know you're close. There's a huge piece of nostalgia. Well, they redid that water tower. And instead of just destroying the mural, they took it down with pieces donated it to Rebel Nell, and now you can take a chunk out of that mural and turn it into a piece of jewelry. Another thing they did, because it is Detroit, they had a former Detroit Lions football player from the 50s. This is like before the Super Bowl era. I don't know what else to do on this ship. This is a big build, but it's just a big freighter, right? There's not a whole lot to explore here. I guess I can go inside these. So there's this player from 57, I think it was, when the Lions last won their national championship before the Super Bowl era. And they had these jackets they would wear on the sideline in the cold. And this is long before the Silverdome. For those of you who know, this is like old Briggs Stadium stuff. They had these jackets, and this player kept them. And I don't know how old he is. I'm guessing he was quite old. And he donated the jackets to Rebel Nell so they could cut out little circles and rectangles out of it and turn it into jewelry. So it becomes a sort of licensed, this is licensed, Detroit Lions jewelry line made out of this classic jacket. And so they got various places that they pull from. And there's even one in Grand Rapids. So if you live closer to Grand Rapids, you can go to Grand Rapids and get the same thing with graffiti from Grand Rapids. Really, really cool place. And if you're ever in Detroit, I recommend you guys check it out because I think that's just a fantastic thing. I love it. This is the steering engine, apparently, in a little repair shop. That's so cool. I love the detail. Like, a lot of people avoid details inside the interiors. A lot of people like building the exteriors, but there are some people who just enjoy these interiors. And I love it when a mega build has something like this filled out. You just don't see it every day. There's a little storage room. But yeah, this is the steering room, apparently. I'm actually trying to find my way out of here. Steering engine. Trying to find my way out of here. Just little crew quarters. Cute little crew quarters. There's lots of little crew quarters in these things. So my girlfriend and I, we visited 4 lighthouses. It's something we like to do. We like to check out lighthouses because there's always interesting history involved in them. And the first one we went to is the Mariners Memorial Lighthouse in Detroit. And you get a good view of both the Ambassador and the Gordie Howe Bridge, which are bridges that connect Detroit to Canada. The Gordie Howe is brand new, opens up early 2026. So it's not even taking cars yet. But anyways, this is an older lighthouse. I mean, they're all older lighthouses. Michigan's got like 160 some odd lighthouses, I think. They're all old. This one has like industrial buildings all around it, but they kept the lighthouse protected and the park it's in, it's protected. So you're at the lighthouse and there's like literally huge industrial buildings polluting who knows what next to it, left and right. And you even have to like zigzag driving through there just to get to the lighthouse. It's pretty funny. So we went there and then we went up to Port Huron, which is higher up in the thumb of Michigan. And that is, again, right connecting directly to Ontario with the Blue Water Bridge. So there's 2 lighthouses there. There's the Fort Gratiot Lighthouse, which we took a tour. It was really amazing. And again, a really old lighthouse. It was gorgeous. And then we went to the Huron Lightship, which used to be it's a boat that has a lighthouse on it, and it used to be in the waters of Lake Huron. And eventually they put a buoy out there instead because you don't need a ship that was like, actually manned. They had, I don't know how many people, it was 7 or 8 people on it that would just be out in the water as a floating lighthouse. So they put a buoy out there, they brought the ship in, and now it's a museum. So you can enter the ship, you can look around. I mean, they don't restrict a whole lot. You can look everywhere in the ship, and they give a tour. It's very interesting. The people, the employees there that were just available for questions were very knowledgeable, and they were very eager to share information about the ship and the area. It was wonderful. I highly recommend you guys go on such tours because there's so much interesting history involved in the shipping on the Great Lakes. Really cool. So we went to those 2. And so then we traveled up the coast, the Michigan coast on Huron, and we went to Tawas City. And there is the Tawas Point Lighthouse, I think it's called. So there is a point that kind of juts out, and this lighthouse is at the end of it. So you get a good view of both like the west and the east, like the sunrise and the sunset. It's gorgeous. We got there at night, and I'll post some sunset pics that I got that are just mind blowing. They're so gorgeous. The light, the light from the set hitting the land and the city from the point. Beautiful, beautiful. And the next day we went to that same spot, and we got the sunrise. And I'll put some of those shots up too. The orange on the clouds and the reflection on the water is gorgeous. And we did a tour of the lighthouse once they opened up and whatnot. And again, really old lighthouse. They all are old. And it was just really interesting to learn the history of this stuff, right? Just really interesting. So moving on from the lighthouses, we made a stop at the Michigan Central Station. This was the old train station in Detroit. And this was it the biggest rail station in the country at one point? And then it was abandoned, and it's been sitting there for decades. And Ford bought it, and they restored it. And I'm not sure exactly what they're planning to do with it yet. It was closed to the public when we went, but I'll throw a picture up so you guys can see how gorgeous this building looks. And then we went to the Detroit Institute of Arts, which is a very well-known art institute. It's second really only to the Smithsonian. They had a lot of amazing exhibits there. I'll throw some pictures up, and I didn't take a ton because we just got caught up in how amazing it was. And there was so much in this building that we only got about a third done before I was already dead for the day. So that was pretty cool. And then we hit up a few Coney dog places. So Detroit is famous for not only its pizza, but for its Coney dogs. And there's two places in specific. There is Lafayette Coney Island, and then there is American Coney Island. Now, these places are in downtown Detroit. They are literally next to each other. And what happened was, in the story of how these things started is borderline folktale, right? There's probably stuff that isn't even true. There's just been a lot of stories, and they've changed over the years, but it's something along the lines of a pair of brothers who ran this Coney Island. There was a split, an argument, who knows what, and they split off to two restaurants literally next door to each other. They touch. I'll put photos up, you can see. Right next to each other, they're both Coney dog places. So my girlfriend's never been to these. I went to these way back in the day, but I haven't been there in over 20 years. Took my girlfriend there, and what we did is we ate a Coney dog. Well, we ate a half a Coney dog at one, then we went to the other and ate a half a Coney dog just to get the whole perspective of what both taste like. And I remember them being pretty similar, and they still are. They're definitely similar. I did like one more than the other, but the one I liked, no one say which one. The place isn't the cleanest. I mean, I know it's a downtown restaurant, and you're going to have issues of these really old buildings in a downtown area that's got obviously rats. One of them just wasn't up to my cleanliness standards, so I don't think I'll be going back there unless I hear differently. And either way, neither one of them are my favorite Coney dog in Michigan. And while they were most people's favorites, there have been plenty of Coney dog places that have popped up in the past 30 years or so that many people feel surpassed these original two. My favorite is a place called La Puma's, which is in Rochester, Michigan. I'll put a picture up. I took a picture of our Coney dogs that we got. They were delicious. But that's it. I'm back. I'm tired. Going on trips like this, I push myself a lot because, right, I'm visiting family and I'm there limited. So I push myself to maximize how much time and things I can do with them. But when it's all said and done, it hits me hard, and it takes weeks for me to recover. So like I'm already winded and beat from this recording. But I'm excited to jump back in a short game or something. I'm looking for something to do. See if I can get something out and get some videos back going again, because I miss doing that. It's just a lot of energy for me to do it. But anyways, that's what has been going on with me since October, and hope you guys had a really nice Halloween, and I guess I'll be seeing you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.